friends and library friends, it's me, Miss Drew, out here at Woods Bay with our amazing camera lady, Michelle. Woo-hoo. And we are meeting with Ranger Regina, and she's going to tell you guys all about Woods Bay and the things that you can find if you come out here to visit.
Well, the one thing about Woods Bay is that the reason why it's called Woods Bay is mainly because Andrew Woods actually owned this land. He owned this land around, I think, the 1700s, 1800s. So it was named after him, and he had a grist mill that was on his property. Foundations of the grist mill is still here. It's kind of sticking out of the ground. So when you go towards the back, there's actually a wayside that talks about the history of it. Unfortunately, the picture is not necessarily what the grist mill looks like because we couldn't really find any documentation on it, but they actually had an idea on the structure and what it looked like. Instead of the wheel that is usually vertical when you see grist mills, they think it was horizontal, and that's the reason why the ditches were so wide. So when you go back there, there is a little bit of history when it comes to the grist mills, and also there's two locations. You'll probably see one before the boardwalk, a wide area, that was where the first one was. The second one's gonna be towards the other end, and the third one's actually in a swamp, but you're not gonna be anywhere near there. It's gonna actually be outside the park. But it's a lot of history in this park because it was actually marked to be destroyed in 1972 when the first superintendent that was here gathered together 3 counties of people to get 6,000 signatures to take to the state government, which took to the federal government. And this was around the time, I believe, that Nixon was president. So they were able to get a grant that saved this place from being destroyed. And that's a copy of the grant right over there on our wall. $149,000 actually helped save this park, and 3 counties, Florence County, Clarendon County, and Sumter County, helped rescue this park. So there were a lot of history. A lot of the community came together to save this park and keep it from being destroyed.
That's awesome. I'm glad that those people did that.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things that I've always just been worried about is the people getting away from going to the parks and then the parks needing to close because people aren't coming to them. And that was really important to Michelle and I, and kind of why we wanted to do something like this, kind of get people back out into the parks and enjoying the things that we probably grew up doing. Because I didn't grow up in the South, but I grew up going to parks, and Michelle grew up in this area, so fishing and doing things, getting off the phone and getting off their computers and off the tablets and stuff.
Disconnecting for a while is actually what this park is known for.
Unplug.
You're definitely going to unplug coming out here. And this park actually wasn't a park until August of 1973. So around the time that this area was really marked to be destroyed, no one owned it. It was abandoned. There's a lot of history of people trying to own the park, and I do believe that someone in the Woods family, who actually was a woman, tried to own a property, but around that time, women were not allowed to own property. So there was a lot of, it was a huge lawsuit or like a law fight to try to actually get this property, but she wasn't able to attain it. So it's nice for the community to come together, but around the 70s, a lot of people were into nature. So that was a huge benefit on our end. So with that grant, it really did bring not only 3 communities together, it saved a huge ecosystem. Because that's what Woods Bay is known for. Woods Bay kind of has a very synergistic relationship between the animals and as well as the plants. We do have endangered species that is here, as well as animals and plants. So you're not going to really see them all around in the area when you walk. The ones that you really want to see that's considered endangered is going to be further in, and let's just say it's a bit dense. But when you go out to the boardwalk, you're going to probably see a lot of tupelo trees and also a lot of cypress trees. And that kind of makes up the Blackwater Swamp. But what Woods Bay is known for are these guys. They're known for the gators. Now this gator is actually from Texas. This gator is not from here. It was kind of a straggler, but they were kind of impressed by the size, so they actually had him taxidermied and brought him here. But there are females that are bigger than this guy. He's 13 and a half feet. I've seen 14 footers and 16 footers in the back end of the bay. The majority of them are females, and female gators are very maternal. All they want to do is protect their little ones, and if you come near them, of course they're going to get defensive, but any mom would. But you're not gonna really see a lot of them out here unless it's like around the summer or maybe around the spring during mating season. They prefer it to be 80 degrees, but if it's higher than that, even they get hot. They're not known to sweat, as you can see. They don't have sweat glands. So when you see them opening their mouth, they're trying to perspire, and that's how they perspire, like a dog pants. The back, you probably see like the little horns that come out of their back. That kind of is like their solar panel. That's how they retain heat. So when they get too hot, and they can get hot, you're probably gonna see them open their mouth and be like, that's how they actually perspire. But the one thing about Woods Bay is that it's 90% water, so there's not a lot of areas that can go in sun except for in the middle or when the water is low. So when you're honestly seeing these gators, it's adorable, especially the babies. When they're trying to get sun, they're kind of slumped over. The old pylons that are from the old boardwalk, and the moms, God bless them, they're trying to climb up trees to get some sun.
Aww.
But they're not really trying to bother people. When you see these gators of this size, they are going to submerge. They're not used to seeing humans. They're going to go down into the water until you're gone. They can be underwater for a long time. I mean, I've actually clocked one to be underwater for more than 7 minutes. So they can be underwater for a good bit until you're gone. And they're going to take care of their little ones because their little ones are out there learning how to hunt, even if they hunt bugs, just to learn how to hunt. It's adorable. But they're not going to bother you unless you bother them. And that's why I tell people, when you decide to kayak out here, and it's best to kayak probably around the spring, because the rainy season in South Carolina goes from December to May. So when you start in December, it's going to be kind of quote unquote quiet out here because everything is dormant. But when spring comes, especially around maybe mid-February, you're going to see a lot of things waking up. The best time to come out here and kayak is around that time because you have enough rain, because the Carolina Bay is a basin. It actually holds water. So when the water goes down, it's not going to fill back up unless more rain comes in. So it's going to be very difficult to go around some of the terrain. So I advise people, they want to come out here and kayak, come around the spring months, probably around maybe February on to maybe mid-May before it gets too hot. And also, if you have a dog, make sure your dog is on a leash, because with these guys, they actually are incredible when it comes to sensing things. They're not like sharks. They're not going to sense exactly what that animal is through your neurological makeup. They're only going to know by the vibrations in the water. If your dog is swimming, they're going to think it's a floundering duck, and they're going to come after it, and your dog is chow. So by all means, make sure that you actually do have your dog wear a harness or a leash, and do not have it swim in the water.
Unless you want your dog to be dinner, which we don't.
Yeah. Hopefully that's not too scary for you guys. I know you want to come out and enjoy yourselves, but it's also for the safety of your pets as well as the safety of yourselves and these guys. Because the last thing you want is for an alligator to be taken from its home.
No.
And especially a mother being taken from her little ones, because the little ones won't be protected anymore. So make sure when you come out here, just appreciate nature just as well as nature will appreciate you.
Respect, you guys. All right, Miss Regina, can you tell us a little bit about the Carolina Bay and what that is? Just a little. You guys can do some research, but she's going to tell you a little bit about it.
I'm going to give you like a brief synopsis, which is really hard to do when it comes to Carolina Bay because it is a little complicated. No one knows what created these things. There is a lot of theories, and of course the theories are here: the spring theory, the eddy theory, meteorite, and artesian spring. But they're not concrete, they're not confirmed. The only one that's considered to be the most plausible is the cometary theory. So when this was made, unfortunately, this wasn't put up. But the cometary theory, they believe that maybe about 10 million years ago, there was a comet that impacted the planet. And when it impacted the planet, it broke into sections. And it actually just sprinkled its way along the eastern coast, and it just kind of impacted the ground. They believe it was a comet because comets do not leave any trace. Meteorites do. Meteorites leave a type of a magnetic residue depending on what fragment broke off and impacted the planet. So they believe that since there was no traces that made these, they think a comet actually kind of evaporated on its way in and impacted without leaving any traces. So they think that the comets were the ones that actually did this. The interesting thing about a Carolina Bay is that what you find in here is going to be the same in each one. Like for these, you're always going to have a sand rim on the outside of it. You're always going to have either water or dry, because you probably see around the walls, most of these are Carolina Bays, either owned by DNR or they're owned privately, but they're either going to be fully sandy or wet. This is actually a unique one because this is a spring-fed Carolina Bay. And the same thing with Little Pee Dee. Little Pee Dee has a lake, and that's also considered to be rare. But here, there actually is a spring that is feeding this Carolina Bay. So it's going to keep it wet year-round, even when the water is low. But mostly with the Carolina Bay, the reason why I call it that is because there are bay trees inside of a Carolina Bay. Like a Sweet Bay or a Loblolly Bay. You've probably been to Georgia, so you've seen a lot of magnolias. So that's pretty much what you're going to find inside of a Carolina Bay, besides a different variety of plants.
That is really cool. I had no idea. And I like all the different theories. And if you're interested in finding out more about that, you can research and find out about the other types of theories that they think are the ways and reasons those bays were formed. And Woods Bay is one of those bays, and that's where we're at. And I hope you guys enjoyed that, and we'll see you back in just a minute. Bye. All right, so I'm still out here at the amazing Woods Bay with Miss Michelle and Miss Regina, the ranger out here. And she's going to tell you guys now a few things that you can and can't do at Woods Bay.
Okay, let's start with what you can do. If you are into birding, this is the best place to go, because Woods Bay is known for being an area where you can actually nature watch without fear of animals coming after you. In other words, you can observe wildlife without being afraid of wildlife observing you. You can come out here and bird watch. We have a lot of birds that come out here, especially around the time of spring, between February to May. So they actually come out here, especially those that have eBird accounts, or if they have iNaturalist accounts, they come out here just to listen to their favorite birds and maybe observe them from a distance. A lot of people come out here to see snakes, let's be honest. They come out here to see snakes, reptiles, different types of wildlife, but in a reptilian sense. Mostly gators. I have people that come out here and they like to gator hunt. Just photography only. Photography only. They come out here to actually film alligators because some have never seen them before and they want to see them in their natural habitat. This is the best place to come and see that. Majority of the alligators you see here are female. They're out here after mating season, especially when their little ones are born. And you're going to see them, but then you're going to see their little ones. You're just protecting the little ones. You have no reason to fear them because more likely they're going to fear you. When you see an alligator and they see you, they're going to submerge. They're not used to seeing a lot of humans out here, which is a good thing, but they're not going to attack you. And I know a lot of people have fears come out here because of gators. They're not going to chase you. They're not going to come after you. They're going to protect the little ones, and that's the only priority they have. So you can come out here without being afraid to observe nature as well as respect it.
That's awesome. And I know that there's a way that they can walk around it's a really large boardwalk.
Yeah.
So they can take a boardwalk to walk around, so you're not just like walking on the ground, where they can like walk up to you and stuff like that too. So what are a couple other things that they can definitely do out here?
Well, we do have a boardwalk that comes out here. It's more about, I think, 500 or 1,000 feet. It doesn't have benches like they do at Lee. You're gonna have to come, of course, turn around and come back. But that whole area there is full of blueberries. We actually have blueberry trees that have been growing for many years in their wilt season, so they actually do have blueberries on them. And it is edible. I've actually tried some, but most of the birds are actually out there. So you're gonna see more people out there taking pictures of wildlife because that's where the food is. So it's the best place to actually go and observe wildlife as well as listen to owls. Because we do have barred owls, and around certain times of the year, especially like towards dusk, about 5:30, you're gonna hear them, and they're pretty loud. So you're gonna see them in that area out there. That's the best place to go and look at birds, especially herons. But when it comes to reptiles, you're gonna see more snakes out there, probably along the trail, and if you see one, they're not gonna come after you either. They're pretty much trying to get sun after eating. But the best thing to do is to definitely keep your distance. Don't try to pick them up. Take a picture. When you see one, just don't go near it and just go in the other direction.
That sounds like a good plan.
But there's also a mill pond trail that you can come out here. And the Mill Pond Trail towards the back actually does have the foundations of the old mill. And it has waysides explaining about the history of the park as well as the Carolina Bays. So definitely come out here and at least get a little education from the waysides here as well as Nature Watch.
So you can get some hiking done, some fishing done. You can, when the bay is full of water, you can kayak, but don't kayak if it's not full of water. Always ask your rangers at your parks what's good for that time of the year. What's something they cannot do here that's unique?
The one thing you can't do here is camp. This is a day use park only. We do not have any of the amenities or the facilities for a campground or a primitive campground. It will be dangerous to make a fire here, especially with the vegetation. The last thing we need is anything to burn down. So this area is not built for a campground, but you are more than welcome to come out for the day.
And they have picnic tables and little shelters and stuff that you can have a little picnic under that were super cute. There's some right here next to the Nature Center, and there's restrooms, which is always a plus whenever you go to a park, because sometimes when you get to walking, you don't realize after those 4 bottles of water how badly you need restrooms.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing, because some parks don't have one. This one does.
Everything is kind of in the same area. We actually do have a shelter that's right next to the bathroom, right next to the Nature Center.
That's right.
So it's all in the same area.
And don't forget, if you're out here, pick up your official guide to South Carolina State Parks. And remember, these rangers are going to give you that cool stamp so you can become part of this team of people that has all 47 state parks stamped off. So me and Michelle are going to go ahead and get our book stamped by Ranger Regina.
And if there's no one here, there actually is a stamp, well, we call it a tamper stamper. There actually is a tamper stamper by the kiosk. There's actually a note on the door. So when you come to the Nature Center and there's no one here, it will point you in direction to the kiosk, and that's where you go to get a stamp if there's no one in the building. It's
awesome.
Pretty much for every park. The same thing with Lee.
Awesome. Thanks, Ranger Regina.
You're welcome.
One more down. I hope you guys had a great time visiting Woods Bay with us. Come by, see Ranger Regina, and check out all of the amazing things that Woods Bay has for you. Goodbye, friends.